In a blown out urban survival situation, the catastrophic level, you need to keep focus on your aims. You're not going to face real psychological challenges in homelessness, except perhaps loneliness or malnutrition, even lack of money may be an issue. But they're not seriously challenging issues because in a situation of homelessness, you're generally speaking, society is still functioning optimally. Everything's up. Supply chain's fine, economy's fine, everything's up. It's generally when you're in a blown out survival situation, obviously in this course, urban, where you start to be presented with serious psychological challenges. And a major factor of those challenges is your attention, needing to stay focused on your aims. Okay, a lot of survival instructors go into survival psychology. I like Rich Hungerford's version of it the most because he tends to be most relevant and very concise, as well as to the point. But a lot of survival instructors just, pretty much highlight the obvious. So I want you to actually take some concepts from every video I make, including this one. I want you to understand that in a blown out survival situation of the most extreme type, you have to start making attentional classifications. Okay, I'll say that again. Attentional classification. You have to be able to sift the wheat from the crap. You have to be able to say that's that and that's that. You don't have the time for convoluted ideas, plans, or anything like that. You've got to really be clear-headed. And a major issue in many survival environments is mistaking stimuli or things happening around you for something critical, for something that seems to be an emergency. Now, what you've got to do with this attentional classification is segregate everything as a non-urgency or non-emergency, and everything else as an emergency or as an urgency or an emergency. So again, I'll say it very simply. Over there, you've got non-urgencies and non-emergencies. And over there, you've got your urgencies and emergencies. Now, what people tend to do a lot when the pressure's high is convolute the both. Now, you have to have a very fine line and be able to distinguish what's what, okay? So if you're in your structure, for instance, if you're in a structure for your urban survival in a very serious catastrophe, if you start hearing bombardments or gunshots down the road, it'd be pretty irrational for you to get worked up and change your aims or change what you're doing, or even worse, go outside and risk your safety. Do those gunshots or bombardments have anything to do with you? You've got to stop and think. No, they don't. It's not an emergency or urgency. It may become an urgency and emergency if that person shooting or bombing comes up my stairs. But he's a block or two away, so he's probably shooting or bombing someone else. Do you get my point? Do you get where I'm going? You need to be relevant and specific. You can't mistake things that have got nothing to do with you for things that have got to do with you. You've got to keep clear and concise aims, and you've got to keep your head there. And look, if something arises in your peripheral that has to do with you, you deal with it as a matter of urgency, proportionate to the level of urgency it is. But what I'm trying to say is, you've got to be able to understand the difference between that and everything else that has nothing to do with that. Do you get what I'm saying? So, a major factor, some takeaways from this rather short video by my standards, is attentional classification. And this is exactly what you're attentionally classifying. Non-emergencies, or non-urgencies and non-emergencies, and urgencies and emergencies. That's the attentional classification system. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. It's that fucking simple. If something becomes a matter of urgency and emergency, proportionate to its level of urgency and emergency, you deal with it. But you've got to be able to say, hold on a second, that's not urgent, that's not an emergency. I don't need to be distracted in that direction. I don't need to screw all my aims and everything we're doing here, or that I'm about to do, just because I've heard someone fart 1 block down the street. It's just ridiculous. So you've really got to keep your mind in a level place. And again, I will stress it, attentional classification. Being able to just go, hold on, no, that's not for me, that's for him. Oh, hold on, that's a plane down the street. Oh, wait, that person's not in this building. You get what I'm saying? You know, can you sense what I'm alluding to? You don't want to be a panic merchant. You don't want to be superstitious. Are people out there to get you? I fucking severely doubt it. Unless you're the cause of the war or a famous general, or nobody's going to be looking out for you. So you've got to see it from that perspective, the true perspective. Nobody out there is looking for you or concerned with you. The only problem that may arise, or in most urban survival situations, or I should say in all urban survival situations, most often times, nearly all times, the only problems that'll arise are due to that person. Let me rephrase that again so I don't confuse you. In all urban survival situations, every single one of them, major catastrophes that is, nearly all times, the problem that will arise will be due to coincidence. So that's just a person being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's why I used the structure as an example. If you're in structure A and person with gun is in structure B, but structure B is no longer tenable and structure A looks good for the person in structure B, it'll only become a danger to you, not because of you, but because that person from structure B finds structure A appealing. Do you get my point? So nobody's out there to get you. That's why you've got to keep a clear head and stick to your clear and concise survival aims. And that's very much a part of survival psychology. You're not going to survive, except for pure luck, if you're classifying everything an urgency or an emergency. Fuck me dead. If you hear a fucking bird, you'd have to go fucking nuts. If you hear this, you'd go nuts. It's just not on. You've got to be sensible. You've got to really attune into the new environment that you're in and understand that every person out there doesn't care about you. They don't know you. They don't want to have anything to do with you. If it just so happens that they're in the same place as you at the same time, it's coincidence. So you've got to use, in that situation, a very sound strategy to diffuse a volatile situation if it comes to that, or if not, evacuate, or something else, something very sensible that will maintain you being alive and those with you. That's a different subject though. Part of survival psychology, but different. The point is, in this video, that you understand acutely what attentional classifications are. And again, for the third time, they're all non-urgencies and non-emergencies on one side, and on the other side, they're all urgencies and emergencies. So everything you do as a human, every single thing that you've ever done in your life can actually be classified into those two allotments. There's no middle ground. When push comes to shove, there's actually no middle ground. There's no, oh, it's this, it's that. No, it's either that or that. And that's one of the beauties of this mode of attentional classification. Yeah, of course, you'll get a lot of things that are not clear. It's not clear cut, or there's a lot of grey area, but that's not the point. What you'll find in most situations is that in this attentional classification system, if it isn't clear cut, you'll be able to very easily determine whether you should err on the side of caution and go with it being urgent and emergent, or just say to yourself, look, on the balance of probabilities and weighing of importance, it's probably better I don't waste my time with that. And this is probably the worst that could happen, and wasting my time with that is even much worse than that. So you nevertheless still make a decision as to where you're going, even if it's not clear cut. That's the beauty of this attentional classification system in my version of survival psychology, urban survival psychology. So you'll be able to say, fuck, I'm sure I heard someone downstairs say, let's kill all these people upstairs. So if it's an all-out urban survival situation, you'll probably want to take that threat seriously. You may not be absolutely certain you heard that, but if you think you did, and you know that the situation's bad, you should probably say, yep, that's an emergency. Let's take this serious. If you, for some reason, heard someone yell something down the street, and then you decide to say, oh, that's probably an emergency, you're a nutter. If you're your standard bloke or woman doing your everyday thing before those catastrophic events, a person 100 meters down the street screaming something has almost certainly got nothing to do with you, even if they murmured the word kill, this, that, even if they started shooting in the air. So that would be a moment that you could probably safely assume that it's not emergency, and that it's much safer to just stick where you are. Should you look at the person? Should you look through your blinds and note what's going on? Even that can be dangerous. So that's why I'm saying you've got to keep your aims very succinct, very clear cut, and just, yep, it's either non-urgency and non-emergency, or it's urgency and emergency. It's nothing else. And when you have that attentional classifying ability, you're just all the better for being focused and sticking to your main aims. That way, whenever you need to navigate through your aims, you've only got to go through one speed bump. You don't have to go through millions of speed bumps and think everything's crashing down. It's just, oh shit, something's happening. Over that bump. Let's keep going. You just keep going with the bus. You just keep going from stop to stop until you get to your destination. That's survival psychology.